What's up, guys? How was everyone's day? So clearly we caught the bottom, right? At least in the short term, we caught the bottom. I posted 2 videos yesterday. One of them was a normal video. The next one was... So essentially, I'm in bed by like 9 o'clock. And I got messages at like 10. I hadn't fallen asleep yet. So I got messages talking about what was going on. And then the futures were so low. And that got me very, very excited, because when the futures are that low and when we are trading that far overextended to the downside on the Bollinger Bands, it's like an automatic W. All right. So essentially, I hope that other video, and now moving forward, whenever that does happen in the market, now you see firsthand that that is a profitable trade to make. So you can always use that in the future. So I hope the information and everything that I've been sharing with you guys helps. This is all literally like, I just love helping you guys, and like I just love growing with people. That's it. And I genuinely want everyone around me to succeed. That's really it. And I'm blessed that I'm put in the position to do that. So clearly, all right, so let's talk about it. So number one, I alerted some March 7th 425 calls, and these were up over 200, like almost like 250%, 220, 230%, I forgot. I got into some April 8th. I alerted, I posted April 8th 425 calls as well. These were up like 60%. So I alerted these at the bottom, at the literal bottom of the market. Worked out beautifully. All right, so now we have to see what happens next. I didn't alert any calls to hold overnight, purely because when we have such a huge run up and we are up 3.4%, 2.7%, 2.5%, huge green days, it's less likely that we are going to open up green the next day. So now moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and share what can happen next. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with that. All right, so number one, the VIX. The VIX tracks the volatility of the SPX. So with SPY, right? So essentially, for bulls, we needed the VIX to break below 33, essentially. And the VIX, a lot of it is touch and feel. All right, if you stare at the VIX all day and you look at the price of the VIX in accordance to the SPY all day, you get a very good feel to when the VIX and the SPY are much more correlated, and when they are, when the sensitivity starts to show a lot more, right? So 33 was that level for today. And, you could just draw support levels. But the fact that we opened up really high and then clearly broke down below any major level of support was very bullish. All right, that's why it helped. The lack of volatility, in the VIX helped propel the SPY's price and the option prices for the indices market to continue going on higher. So this is a very bullish development for the VIX. All right, and the overall market. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the SPY. So we can see clearly we broke above every major, short-term resistance. So we closed above 420.76. That's cool. So now at this moment, like, we need to see, I wouldn't feel comfortable alerting another swing play until we see what happens overnight. Because right now it's very, very dangerous to hold overnight long positions. Because for example, like the war with Russia and Ukraine gets much worse, right? That would cause, potentially that would cause the market to fall again. So there's no point of taking an over trading, etc. So what I would much rather see is, I would want to see some sort of, like, we need to see, like, for us to swing, we would need to see how the market responds to negative news. And then we would need also a close above major levels of resistance. So until we get those two things met, right? Ideally, we want a close above 434.75 and 433.34. So on the SPY, those are the two levels of resistance that we need to break above. All right. aside from that, there's not really much else to look at. I mean, we could continue falling lower. The lower Bollinger Band level for today is 423.53. So if the SPY opens below 423.53, we can basically do the exact same thing that we did today. And that would most likely work as well because statistics are on our side. And also the reason why I didn't go over more examples of the Bollinger Band theory working is because like it was just a 12-minute long video, and I didn't have access to go through every single time that happened in the past on TradingView, and you know I would have to buy the data, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. But yeah, so there's that for the SPY. Let's go ahead and take a look at the IWM. All right, the IWM closed above 195.50. It closed above 197, which is a really good sign. Now the next major level of resistance is going to be 198.50 and 200. So you can see that the MACD looks very, very strong on the IWM. The RSI sharply moved up, obviously, right? And we bounced clean off of this 188 level, which is also the bottom of this wedge. So this was a huge major level of support here on the IWM, and that worked out pretty well, right? It's crazy. This is just a crazy move that happened intraday. So now ideally what we need to see is a close back above 200. That would be in conjunction with the SPY closing above like 430, 450. All right, and we can look at the SPY. The MACD is also extremely strong. We had a huge green day, but yet the MACD has barely moved. So that is very, very bullish on the SPY and on the IWM. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the large tech stocks. All right, Apple, we reclaimed. So we opened up very, very low. We reclaimed this very important trend line, and we closed above it. The next main level of resistance for Apple is going to be 163.76. The MACD is falling lower, yet the price is moving higher. That's super, super bullish. And the RSI is obviously moving upwards. Microsoft reversed like crazy as well, if it decides to load. But until then, you know, I hope everyone had an amazing day. And there you go, Apple or Microsoft. So Microsoft obviously opened very low as well. And this was literally what I was saying. Like, this was a really, really good sign that a market bottom was about to happen. Not necessarily that this is the bottom, right? But it's a very good sign that Microsoft was trading outside the lower level of the Bollinger Band. And then today, the fact that it opened outside the lower B band as well, that's a really, really good sign to massive overextensions to the downside. All right, so the next major level of resistance is obviously going to be these three levels here, 297.97. The MACD is about to pinch upwards above, and that's going to be very bullish as well. Google closed right at resistance, 2660. So that needs to be closed above. Yet we haven't crossed above on the MACD yet, which is a really, really good sign. Amazon reversed like crazy today, man. You can see it held right at the lower level of the Bollinger Band today, and what a crazy, crazy, crazy move from Amazon today. The MACD still hasn't even shown any bullish sign yet, which is ridiculously bullish. And you know, really the next two major levels of resistance are going to be 30.59 and then 31.27. So those are going to be the two important levels on Amazon. And then we could take a look at Tesla as well. Tesla was gorgeous. Really, really gorgeous move out of Tesla. Broke back above 780, and now it's basically at 800. So 800 is going to be the next major level of resistance, and then 833. So again, all of the MACDs on all the large tech stocks look extremely bullish. They're either moving downwards or they're flat, even though all of the tech stocks had a huge move upwards. So that is a very, very bullish situation, okay? So now if we look at the bonds were basically hinting at a rally and a bottom because, once again, the 30-year bonds were showing strength, yet the equities market was showing a lot of weakness. So when the bonds are usually forward telling, it's not always that if the bonds are red one day, then the NASDAQ is going to be red one day. It doesn't always work as perfectly, but this was one of the things that helped me remain sort of bullishly biased, even though we were falling, right? Because the Fed was giving really bullish news. They weren't hawkish at all. All of the reasons why bears were essentially worried about the Fed and what they were going to do, the Fed basically didn't really cause that much cause to be worried. So the only thing that really caused the market to fall was, you know, the Russia and Ukraine crisis that's going on. So now it's going to be interesting to see if bad news overnight is going to cause the market to fall. But, you know, that's what we have to look for. But the bonds essentially showing strength and moving and creating a new trend, right? So the bonds were moving upwards, yet the NASDAQ and everything were moving down. So that's a bullish thing, and that basically helped. So obviously now the bonds just need to close back above 153 and then 153.30. That'd be really, really good. But right now, the bonds are overbought on the MACD. And what I was saying needed to happen was the bonds needed to remain overbought for a while and continue being overbought and continue showing strength. That would cause the yellow MACD line to start to move upwards and basically show that the momentum of the bonds are bullish. So this is basically what we need to happen, which is a very, very good sign. All right. So there's that for the bonds. Let's go ahead and take a look at the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ, clearly, all right, so you can see that the MACD looks very similar to Microsoft a bit. It hasn't even crossed up above yet we're closing above major levels of resistance. We see that it stopped right at 340.76. So 340.76 is obviously going to be the next level of resistance. And then this, once we break back above 347.38, that's going to be very, very bullish. This would also coincide with 200 on the IWM and 435 on the SPY. So if we can get it's also going to be a bit more risky to swing over the weekend because a lot can happen over the weekend, man. That's a lot more hours during a war. And, you know, I wouldn't feel comfortable holding a huge position over the weekend. But yeah, essentially we just need to see how the market responds if bullish technical setups are working again in the market. All right. And if they are, then we'll be more confident holding positions overnight. But for now, we played that position really, really perfectly today. And that worked out really, really well. But again, that's basically it. You need to see how the market responds above key levels of resistance. And one more thing for the bonds is that earlier today, the bonds were trading basically at, so earlier today, the bonds were at like 154, right? So the bonds were basically trading at like January 20th levels, right? So the SPY at that time was very, very high. It was trading at around like 450. So the bonds were basically trading at a completely different, I don't know how to, I can't even explain this properly right now, but all right, so look, the bonds were trading at a level when the SPY, so the SPY was trading at like 415, and the bonds were trading at a level where the SPY was trading at like 450, which means that the disparity between the strength in the bonds compared to the price of the SPY currently was huge. That's very, very bullish. So we need to see if that continued strength in the bonds will remain and continue to show in the equity price. So I hope that made sense. But yeah, so there's that for the overall stock market. Let's go ahead and take a look at the crypto market. So Bitcoin, take a look at this chart. That was a bit more of a messy chart. So this one, we reclaimed this, literally we, oh my God, like this was like, everyone was scared. Everyone was really, really worried, and it made sense, right? But we held this 35,000 level. We reclaimed back above 37. We held the 36 level, and now we're trading back above this trend line here at 38. So now the main level of resistance that needs to be reclaimed here is going to be 39.6. As long as Bitcoin can show the strength, and as long as we see support being held out of Bitcoin, that is literally right now, that is one of the best indicators of what is going to happen in the stock market. If the stock market is very, very strong, yet Bitcoin is very, very weak, Bitcoin ends up following. And if Bitcoin is very, very strong and the stock market is very, very weak, stock market ends up following. So the comparison between the two has been beautiful. And yeah, I mean, there's that for the entire market. I'm not perfect. I obviously didn't short every single drop down because like a lot of the indicators and everything were really, really weird to me. So I didn't short the entire move down, but we sure as hell caught the bottom. So yeah, man, I hope I'm helping you guys, and I hope everything's working out for everyone here. And it's nothing but love and respect to all you guys, and I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, have an amazing Friday, have an amazing weekend. Cool, thanks.